Well, he certainly did not address anything about the allegations of sexual misconduct or the pending litigation with Sherry Redstone's National Amusements. Those, of course, are the two issues hanging over CBS stock. Instead, Moonves gave a 15-minute monologue about the company's growth. The only comment about the allegations or as well as the pending litigation came from CBS's EVP of Corporate Finance and Investor Relations, Adam Townsend. Take a listen.
In light of pending litigation and other matters, and on the advice of counsel, the scope of today's call and any questions will be limited to the quarterly results of the company.
Abiding that restriction by Townsend, no analyst asked any questions about those issues, instead focusing on the company's better-than-expected growth of its streaming services, CBS All Access and Showtime OTT. The company saying it will hit 8 million subscribers a year early and now targets 16 million subscribers by the year 2022.
As you can see, our strategy is clearly working. Our base advertising business is strong, and we continue to grow new revenue streams from all the ways we're licensing and distributing our ever-increasing portfolio of premium content. Key to this success is the expansion of our direct-to-consumer services across entertainment, news, and sports programming, and internationally as well.
Moonves also talking about how they're creating more content for streaming companies with 24 pilots in development between premium cable and streaming services such as Amazon. Moonves also saying that they're glad that the limits on station ownership have lifted and they would be interested in buying the right stations that could fit for them. He also said that new loosened rules around sports betting are a huge opportunity, both in terms of the focus on live sports and also advertising. But again, no comment on either the investigation into the sexual harassment allegations or the legal battle with Sherry Redstone. Scott, back over to you.
Julia, are you surprised that he did not address the allegations?
I think he's following the advice of his attorney. I can only imagine that this is a legal decision not to say anything. I think I expected him to say something simply because his comment to The New Yorker in response to the allegations and in the article they published, his response to The New Yorker was so thorough. It was so long. I mean, it was a full paragraph response. It wasn't a no comment. It was actually a lengthy response. So I would have expected a little bit more here, but I would suspect that this would be a legal decision not to say anything.
Yeah, that's why I asked. Julia, thanks so much. Julia Borson out in L.A. You, Karen, own a bit of the stock?
I do own a little bit of the stock. I mean, it's kind of interesting to me. Well, you can't ask any questions about the one thing that you want to ask about, but everything else is okay. That I don't know. I'm surprised that one analyst at least didn't try to
sneak through the gate.
Just give it a go. Why not? Maybe they, pre-approved all of the questions. I don't know. I'm just very surprised they did it this way. To make a big deal. Oh, he's going to be on the call. Oh, but he's not going to say one single thing that you want to hear.
Yeah. Well, the allegations against Mr. Moonves have led to one key question. Is the CBS board complicit in the Moonves scandal? In a column for the New York Times earlier this week, Jim Stewart laid out the murky waters surrounding the board, how much they might have actually known about the allegations. Many questions remaining unanswered tonight as Ronan Farrow, who originally broke the story, reportedly gearing up to do yet another piece on Moonves. Jim Stewart here, thankfully with us now. Jim, good to see you.
Nice to see you.
So give me your initial reaction to not addressing this at all this evening on the call.
Well, I think it's tricky because, as she said, he did address it to the New Yorker, and I would have thought that at the very least he would have made some sort of reiteration of that sort of statement. And I think it's particularly significant that in the New Yorker comment, he didn't just deny everything. He did apologize and say, he was sorry if he had made advances that made some women uncomfortable. I read that, and I said, whoa, who approved that statement? That's an admission that something went on here, and I think that's going to be, that's a serious issue for CBS as they go forward. And also, as I pointed out, it's a very serious issue for the board.
If that's the case, are you surprised that he wasn't suspended pending the investigation?
Yes, I was initially surprised. I thought, look how Disney has handled similar allegations, even with some fairly senior people. They immediately go on leave. Now, that's not to say they're guilty. That's not saying we're prejudging this. We're not firing anyone. But under the circumstances, it's best for all concerned if you step aside. Now, here we have a different situation. He is the CEO. In contrast to people like Harvey Weinstein, he is much loved by the advertising community up until now, by investors, by many employees. And I think a big question for the board, and they must have talked about this on Monday, is if he did step aside, who are they going to put in the interim? Because he's not the only one who's under a cloud. The board said we're going to be investigating the whole culture of this company. We're going to be looking at other executives in the company to see if they knew, did they not do anything, are there other examples of this? They don't want to put someone in as the interim and then have to take them out in another month or two.
What do you think the board knew, and when did they know it? Sort of question.
Well,
there are some sprinklings out there today that maybe some members of the board had heard some allegations about Moonves.
Oh, I know that they had heard the allegations, and I reported in my column that Sherry Redstone asked Moonves point blank if there was any truth to the rumors, and supposedly he said there wasn't. Now, I don't know exactly what was asked and answered, but it's a serious issue. I mean, they may be at odds, but the chief executive of a major company cannot dissemble or be less than candid when they get important questions from the board. And again, we know these articles have been in the works for months. The New York Times was calling them in December. The Wall Street Journal was calling them. Ronan has been working on this article for months. In like February, March, they were sure that the New Yorker was about to drop the bombshell. These are people inside CBS. At this point, clearly, first of all, directors heard the rumors, but I would feel it's the obligation of executive CBS to warn the directors that a bombshell may be landing. I know CBS has acknowledged that the New Yorker contacted them a week before. Ronan has said it was even longer than that. But let's say it was a week. That was a week when they could have prepared for this bombshell. They were caught completely flat-footed. They didn't even have a law firm on deck to take on the internal administration. And, as I reported, they told some directors, but not all, that the New Yorker story was about to come. And even if you don't like some of the directors, I don't understand how you can get away with telling some people material information and withholding it from other voting members of the board.
Do you think Moonves survives this? And what is left of CBS on either side of that equation?
Well, those are big questions. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but my own view at this point is it's going to be very tough for him to survive. He has bought some time here. The board has bought some time to maybe prepare for a transition in a little more orderly way, but I don't see it being much more than that, given his virtual admission to the New Yorker and the possibility that, once this Pandora's box is opened, other people will come forward. NBC reported that somebody went to the LA District Attorney's office and they didn't pursue it, but only because the statute of limitations had run, not because they didn't believe it had happened. These are all very, very serious matters, and they've got some very good law firms, Covington and Burling, Debevoise and Plimpton, very, very highly respected. They've got Mary Jo White, the former U.S. attorney. They're running this thing. I think that's going to be a very serious and credible investigation, and if something happened, they're going to find out. In this climate, I just don't see how he survives.
Yeah. Appreciate your insight.
Sure.
As always, Jim Stewart, New York Times. So, send it to all of you. What do you do?
I'm wondering, though, I don't know how long it'll take the board to come to some conclusion. October is sort of an important time because we may have quickly some resolution on the Viacom issue at that time. That would maybe be an important point. Also, he has, I believe, a contract extension until June of 21, at which time he would be 72. I don't know that was last year, I think, extended. I mean, if I were the board, I don't see how they can. Literally would be a statement. We've investigated all 16, 12, however many claims, found none of them to be credible. We have found no pervasive environment of harassment at all. And while we're looking into this, we're going to leave him there. But we've done our job. Maybe it could happen.
The other thing, Tim, to consider is sort of as all of this comes to a head in the fall, the trial, and who knows where this particular investigation is going to go. As Larry Haverty said in the wrap-up of the last hour, I mean, that's the prime time, so to speak, for a lot of these networks, especially like CBS, the fall season rolling out. Moonves himself on the call talking about not having to program against the Olympics in the coming year, having the Super Bowl. The sky is blue for this company moving forward. This brings potential storm clouds at arguably the worst possible time.
They do, but I think this company is prepared, and I think their networks are as streamlined as any. I think this is part of really the core. The reason why you own the stock as an investor is for Showtime, and that these networks are probably as well positioned as any. I think at 13 times the stock's taken on a fair amount of hits and actually looks relatively cheap, certainly cheap to the sector. And when you consider the quality of these assets, I think it's going to be murky and smoky for the next couple months. But I think if investors hang in there, whether you get Viacom, whether he stays or goes, and Les has clearly been an asset for this stock, but there's still a great asset base.